Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. Thank you so much for being here. Um, for those of you who may have missed it, on Monday of this week, I released a video looking at Canadian politics. I was looking at Alberta, and I was looking at the federal politics because is an inquiry going on about the Emergencies Act that the federal government used to deal with the freedom convoys. As many of you pointed out, that I tend to mix up my left and my right. Okay, so just bear with me. When I channel like this, there's so much information flooding in. Um, I it just happens, and I trust that um, you guys can kind of sort it out. So I do apologize for any confusion, but I absolutely cannot promise it won't happen again. Um, Also, on Wednesday, I released a Shine Your Light video for the US elections. In that video, we are like calming down the temperatures and hoping to, just shift away from the violence and shift away from some of the crazy. Um, I got a couple of responses to my request from the Tuesday video, asking for some clarity and some insight into how um, the eclipse on January 8th is going to impact the elections. I got some awesome replies. Thank you very, very much for that. Greatly appreciated. I'm going to absorb more, and I'll probably focus a video like next week on what I can determine based on, that eclipse, etc. So, but thank you, thank you, thank you. That was awesome. Thank you. Okay. So for the next little while, honestly, I think I'm just going to be opening or starting all of my videos with pendulum yes, no questions, because there's a lot of races that you want to look at. There's some races that we're just going to keep on looking at and see if we can, kind of deal with a shift in energy. Hopefully we'll see one. I know there's a couple of pendulum answers that have been disappointing. So we're going to do that. If you are sending, just in the comment section, if you want me to follow a race or a specific, look at a specific thing, please be a little bit generous with details. Okay, like saying check Senate or check the Senate race for Arizona. What that does is it makes me have to go, and because I'm Canadian, remember, I have to go in and figure out who's running for the Senate in Arizona. Okay, so if you can just say, would you please check this race in this state? This is the Democrat. This is the Republican. This is the Independent. These are their names. It's just really helpful for me because then I can just write them down as I'm going through your comments, and I don't have to start looking for information. So let's get started. Here we go. Okay, so Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene, God Almighty, and flowers. Okay, so pendulum. Okay, so the pendulum is ready to talk. It's going side to side. And show me yes, pendulum. And show me no. Okay, so back and forth is yes, round and round is no. And yes, you're going to see a slight vibration in my hands. In Georgia, is Marjorie Taylor Greene going to be reelected to her seat? Is Marjorie Taylor Greene going to be reelected to her seat? All right, now this time I'm getting a no, and I'm almost positive that the last time I got a yes for her. So we continue to monitor. The thing is you can say things are destined, but in an election, the reality is that the destiny is created by the people who vote. Okay. Um, it, it, there may be somebody who, for example, is destined to play a pivotal role in government. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to play that pivotal role in a specific thing that we're looking at, like right now. Okay, so that's how come sometimes the energies will shift and change. The debates have been going on, and I think that that is also energetically created a bit of a shift. And next week on October 25th, there's also going to be, it's an eclipse. And it is like one's a solar and one's a lunar. I think the lunar one is in November. I always get this stuff mixed up. Um, but I think that right there, you're going to see again another kind of almost like shift in energy as we get that close to the election. So I'm going to keep on doing these until, it's kind of done. All right, Georgia. Sorry, Oregon. So somebody clarified for me that it's a three-way race, and this appears to be the consensus that Tina Kotek is the Democrat. Somebody named Betsy Johnson is the independent, but for some reason people are getting some iffy vibes about her. And a Christine Drazen, maybe, is the Republican. So let's take a look at the governor for Oregon. Okay. Is Tina Kotek going to be sworn in as the governor of Oregon as a result of the November 8th election? You know what? I remember this is the same thing that happened. It was a really kind of yell. It's like not responding. Okay, let's try it this way. Is Betsy Johnson going to be sworn in as the governor of Oregon as a result of the November 8th election? And again, it's gone perfectly still. I'm just going to ask about Christine and then I'll explain. And Christine Dragon, is she going to be sworn in as the governor of Oregon as a result of the November 8th election? Okay, they've all gone still. What that means is, generally speaking, when the pendulum goes still like that, it really means things are so up in the air, it can't be determined. Sometimes, personally, if you're asking a personal question and the pendulum goes still on you, just so you know, it basically is it's not your business right now, or we can't give you the answer right now, or you don't need to know that answer. Like, okay, but I'm not getting any clarity on that, so we'll continue to check. All right, let's just check Georgia again. Warnock versus Walker. Um, Walker with his little prop badge at the debate. It, you know, I know there are really good people in Georgia because you know what? I have clients and viewers who are from Georgia. It kind of scares me a little bit, the extremes that seem to be um, attractive to some people in Georgia in terms of the politicians. And I don't know if that's just because they're so determined to stay red that they'll just take anybody. But there really are some unusual people running. Let's just say it that way, shall we? Okay. In Georgia, is Warnock going to be reelected to his seat in the Senate? Nice, strong yes. Nice, strong yes. I know that they're like neck and neck in the polls, but my pendulum says Warnock for the win. Arizona governor. It's Katie Hobbs versus Carrie Lake. That Carrie Lake, oh my lord, she's just, I said it before, she's like the Trump in heels, but she's like dangerous. Okay, pendulum for the Arizona governor's race. Um, is Katie Hobbs going to be sworn in as the governor for Arizona as a result of the November 8th election? Okay, so right now that's a yes. That's also, I believe, a real close race, but right now it's a yes for her. Utah, Evan McMillan and Mike Lee. I, saw little bits of that debate that were sort of, used in other newscasts or whatever. Mike Lee wasn't particularly impressive, although I have to admit, I've probably never been impressed by him. Um, but his sort of, well, I wasn't doing anything bad. And, there's evidence or records of him saying, well, if we can get a couple of these states to, like, play around with the numbers or send you electors. So, it's just scary. Although that Evan McMullen really does seem to have a very clear response and stance. So let's just see. Is Mike Lee going to lose his seat in the Senate as a result of the November 8th election? Is Mike Lee going to lose his seat in the Senate? Okay, that's a really, really strong yes. I don't know what the polls are saying, but let's hope that one's just like accurate. Okay. Um, we're just gonna just check a couple of the ones that everybody wants to know about. Okay. Is the Senate going to remain with a majority of Democrats as a result of the November 8th election? Okay, that's a yes. That's a pretty darn strong yes, too. Is the Senate going to increase by at least 2 as a result of the November 8th election? And that's a yes. So the House seems to be much dicier. I have always felt that the House was going to remain in Democratic control, but let's just take another look at that, shall we? Okay, so the House, House of Republicans, is that going to remain as a Democrat majority under Nancy Pelosi as a result of the November 8th election? Is the House going to stay with a Democrat majority? Yes. It's not a really enthusiastic one, but it's a yes. Okay. DeSantis and Chris. This is an interesting one, because DeSantis is getting a lot of bad press these days. He's not doing all that well, so let's just see. DeSantis versus Chris. Pendulum. Is DeSantis going to be reelected as governor of the state of Florida as a result of the November 8th election? Look at that. It's gone still. So, which means this is obviously way more of a toss up than it had been previously, because I know we were always getting definite answers on that. So, that is super, super interesting. So, let's just by extension. So, is DeSantis being hurt enough or significantly hurt enough to cost him the governorship as a result of his antics with the migrants? Yes. And listen, I know there's a whole long list of other stuff that DeSantis has done. Texas, Abbott and O'Rourke. Is Abbott going to lose his seat as governor in the state of Texas? We're getting a no. And interesting, because I could have sworn previously that I've gotten yeses on that. Let's ask it this way. Is O'Rourke going to be sworn in as the next governor of Texas, Beto O'Rourke, the next governor of Texas, as a result of this November 8th election? Is he going to win the governorship? Sorry, guys, that's a no, too. Let's hope that that energy somehow shifts, because truly there has been enough crap that's gone on in Texas. Um, I just can't even. I just can't even understand how he could possibly get reelected. And Georgia, Stacey Abrams. Is Stacey Abrams going to be sworn in as the next governor of the state of Georgia as a result of the November 8th election. All right, now that has become almost a tiny no as to not moving. So that looks as if it somehow shifted into more of a toss up kind of category. I have one more question for right now. Somebody in a comment, and it was a really smart comment, said that to pay attention to the fact that polls um, talk about likely voters. Okay, the likely voters. How are the likely voters going to um, vote? Who do they like? But what she pointed out was that a lot of the younger kids, not kids, but the 18, say to 25s, that bracket, um, they're not counted as likely voters. But yet, a lot of the stuff that's been going on, not only one has been helpful to them, because of course, Biden finally got that student loan thing. I guess that's up and running now. There's the abortion issue, which is huge. The younger ones are not keen on the lack of gun restrictions. There's a lot going on. And so, my question is this: are the younger voters, first time voters, or voters that are not being polled, are they likely going to have a significant impact on the actual results of this election? Oh, wow, look at that. That's a super strong yes. And so the follow up question is, and is that impact going to benefit the Democrats? Also, super strong yes. Okay, that's what we know today, according to the pendulum. I'm quick. This is, you can tell by the name of the video. That just seem to be the words that Trump keeps hearing, and he is going off on insane rants. Um, just about the craziest stuff. As the election gets closer, he is he's more determined to drag things out, to twist stuff around. And I don't see it working. Okay, first of all, there's no way in hell that Trump is going to testify before the committee, the J6 committee. I believe he will be subpoenaed. I think there's going to be a subpoena issued, but I don't believe he is going to honor that subpoena. As of right now, the only way he will, go and chat is if it's on live TV and nobody basically interrupts him and he can say whatever he wants. Well, you know what? We don't want to hear it. Okay, like we don't. If he's not going to answer questions honestly, which he's, I'm pretty sure psychologically incapable of doing. Okay, but he's losing stuff everywhere. I mean, the latest one is Letitia James had filed an injunction because Trump, the day that she announced the indictments, Trump Corporation, they opened up another business, I don't know, across state lines, and they were trying to transfer um, their assets there. And not only was the injunction granted, but the court ordered that it be granted by electronic means. So it was like as soon as somebody pushed send, they had that indictment. They couldn't budge on that. So not only is he getting a lot of no's, but it just seems as if the courts are dealing a little bit more harshly with his theatrics and his antics and his delaying techniques. It just feels like they are not, kind of wanting to put up with that. So, Steve Bannon, I'm recording this a day or two early, so I don't. You may know by the time you see this, you may know actually what Bannon's sentencing is. I don't think he's going to get the 6 months, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was incarcerated for somewhere around the 3-month mark. And I see a penalty. I'm seeing somewhere in the vicinity of around $100,000. So let's see if I'm right. And I just want to take a look. What I want to take a look at is the law and Trump, like the legal system and Trump, and how that's kind of going for him. Because honest to God, it doesn't look like it's going very well. You know, his lawyers can't agree. He doesn't listen to them anyways. He's yelling and screaming about really insane things. Um, it's just bad. Okay, here we go. This is just a quick dive. Let's take a look. The legal system versus Trump. Legal system versus Trump. Legal system versus Trump. Okay, so we've got the Emperor and the Chariot. So we're starting with the fact that the Emperor I'm interpreting as the courts. Okay, they're they're kind of getting sick of it. In fact, I would go so far as to say they are. And so what you have is a legal system that is sort of determined to just move forward. The more obstruction he puts in the path, um, the more harsh isn't the right word, but the more the faster and the more firm the court's decisions are going to be. Okay, so he's not doing himself any favors here. Um, he is in such turbulent water that, like, literally, if you look at this card, you can see, you know, the King of Cups is sitting in a very, very small kind of cement platform that's sitting on this water, and this water is not looking exactly smooth. So that's kind of where Trump's at right now, right? He's in a very small, sort of confined space. He doesn't have a lot of wiggle room anymore. Um, and he's really scared. He's really, really scared. He's not getting good news from anybody, like anybody. And he's really getting frightened of the judgments. He's mostly frightened of um, the loss of money because it's Trump. He's frightened of losing his power within the Republican base or the Republican Party. And he's very concerned about like just guilty verdicts. I have to say the two ones that are popping up first and foremost in terms of his energy and what I can pick up is it definitely looks like the New York one really, really is driving him crazy because um, that's his money. That's his name. That's his brand. Okay. And that's been gone after. So he really, really, that just wigs him out. It really scares him. And again, you know, he knows what he did. Whether he believes it's fine because everybody does it is irrelevant to the fact that it's not fine according to the law. And the other one that is really concerning him is the Mar-a-Lago records one because it's so clear. Right. I mean, it's so clear. He has the documents. He's not supposed to have the documents. He wouldn't give the documents back. He thinks the documents are his. And now we have missing documents. And I did say a while ago that I wondered how long it would take before the Department of Justice started looking at Bedminster and Trump Tower and other properties he has. That looks like that's coming. And I do believe that that scares him. Right now, the assessments that are going on not only in terms of his own legal strategy, but in terms of the business and that kind of thing, are really, really not going well for him. He is sort of trapped in the mess of his own making. And so, this volatility that you see with him, that's going to continue, okay, because he is in a totally, totally defensive posture. This is the thing. for a long time, part of the reason why Trump, in his own kind of crazy way, was so dangerous was because he was always on the offense. He was always pushing back. He was always in your face. He wouldn't shut up. And he was saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. But now he is in a defensive posture. He is forever trying to protect. Here's the King of Pentacles. So, of course, sure, that's one of my cards for him. He's trying so hard to protect and defend himself. And some of it is becoming more and more indefensible. The only people who believe him are truly, truly the mega crowd. And even some of those are starting to wake up and go, wait a minute, hold back up a second. So he's having trouble, and the reality is the communications and the ideas, the information that is coming out is never ever to his advantage. Okay, it's just bad news, and that's going to continue. This is not going to let up. I mean, he's going to take people, he's going to get sued. He's going to try to counter sue. He's going to throw it into the appellate court. It's not going to go well for him. He just, um, it's like, okay. So for those of you who've been watching me for a really long time, you know that I get bombarded with pictures in my head, and then what I'm doing is I'm putting words to the pictures. And so the picture I just got is really self-explanatory, and I don't feel like I need to explain it. So think back a little ways, and we can all remember the big, big blow up balloons of Trump. My favorite one was, I think he was in a diaper and had a cell phone in his hand, but regardless, these big, big balloons of Trump that were showing up in protests about him. So what they just showed me was one of these things in the sky floating around, and like a big, like harpoon or something has pierced it, and not only not only is this balloon doing exactly what happens when that happens, is not only is it deflating, but it's spiraling. That is the best description of Trump and how he is reacting to what is going on around him. He's just not getting news. More secrets are coming out. More information is going to be put forward in the public. And the reality is that he is not going to, his tricks are not going to get him anywhere. And unfortunately, he's really not going to go quiet. But the Wheel of Fortune has truly turned against him. And there's very definitely energy around him that is binding him tighter. Okay. So the more he tries, the tighter the ropes sort of get around him. The more he boxes himself in, the more he um, negatively impacts any defenses or any sort of chance he had, because again, he can't keep his mouth shut, and he shoots himself in his own damn foot all the time. So it's going to be more of that. It's going to be amplified, and just, buckle up, get through it. But his days of power really do seem to be sort of diminishing. And I don't know whether that power is because he's honestly wearing orange and he's in a jail somewhere, or because people just shut him out. Okay. Um, Listen, you guys, if you haven't voted and you're able to vote, go vote. When you're able to vote, go vote. Um, Vote blue. Okay. um, Hang in there. Stay safe while you're voting, if you're going to the polls, however that's going to work. Um, I encourage all of you to check out the Shine Your Light video, because I really, really want you guys to increase that energy around the safety and the security of the whole voting situation, whether that is the candidates, the workers, the voters, all of it. I want it as protected and light filled as we can make it. Okay, so one more tiny, tiny little note. So as you know, or most of you know, I live in Alberta, Canada. We have had the most amazing September and October in terms of the weather. By and large, Um, it has been like way warmer than normal. Like we are experiencing temperatures that would be typical for like August or September. Um, sort of, it's been in like the low to mid 20s. So I'm not sure how that translates into Fahrenheit. I think it's somewhere like in the mid 70s, somewhere in there. But um, next week, or actually later on this week, the temperatures are going to plummet. And they're going to not even be October temperatures, but like November temperatures. So we're going from, 23 degrees, it's warm, like literally people are still running around in shorts in some cases. That doesn't happen in October. Um, but when it plunges like that, it's now then going to be somewhere in the vicinity of 2, 4, maybe 6 degrees if we're lucky. So remember, for Americans, your minus or your 32 degrees is our zero. So if I'm saying 2 or 4 or 6 degrees, we're talking about the low 40s. Okay, so this is just a massive temperature drop, and it looks like it's going to settle in. It doesn't look like it's a 1 or 2 day event. When that happens, my body does not react well to it. It really does not react well to the season changes, but it really doesn't react well to those kinds of plummeting temperatures. So if there's only one video next week, or I'm missing them, or they're coming out at strange times, bear with me. This is a season change, and like everyone else in this world, my body tends to rule. What it wants is pretty much what happens. Okay, so it's Friday. Take care. Stay safe. Be well. And I'll see you soon. Bye bye.